In North Korea, children are taught from birth that their leader is a god, not metaphorically, literally divine. And the adults who grew up under that system, even the ones who eventually escaped, describe something horrifying. They didn't just believe it outwardly, they believed it inwardly. The thought this isn't true didn't exist in their minds, not as a suppressed idea. It literally wasn't there. There was no mental space for it. When defectors arrive in South Korea, deprogramming takes years, not because they're stupid, but because the beliefs weren't sitting on top of their thoughts. The beliefs were their thoughts. You hear that and think, that could never happen to me. Jung would say it already has, just with different programming. And the reason you can't see it is the same reason they couldn't. Jung spent decades studying something he called the collective unconscious, a layer of the mind that doesn't belong to you, but operates through you constantly. Beneath your personal memories, your experiences, your individual psychology, there's a deeper floor. And on that floor sit patterns, beliefs, instincts, and frameworks that were there before you arrived. You didn't build them. You didn't choose them. You inherited them from your culture, your family, your language, your century. And they shape every thought you have before you become aware you're having it. This isn't abstract theory. This is the reason you want what you want, fear what you fear, believe what you believe, and assume, with total certainty, that all of it came from you. It didn't. Think about your deepest beliefs about yourself, whether you're intelligent or not, whether you're attractive or not, whether you deserve love or have to earn it, whether the world is safe or dangerous, whether people can be trusted. Now ask yourself, when did you choose those beliefs? Was there a moment where you sat down, evaluated the evidence, and arrived at a conclusion? Or did they just appear at some point, so early and so quietly that by the time you noticed them, they already felt like facts? That's how the collective unconscious works. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel like influence. It feels like reality. The beliefs it installs don't arrive as suggestions you can accept or reject. They arrive as the lens through which you see everything else. You can't question the lens while you're looking through it. You don't even know it's there. Your parents didn't just teach you what to think. They taught you how to think. Their fears became the borders of your imagination. Their limitations became your definition of what's realistic. Their unspoken assumptions about life, about money, about relationships, about what people like you can expect from the world, those became the invisible architecture of your inner life. And you've been living inside that architecture ever since, calling it my perspective. Jung wrote that people don't have ideas, ideas have people. That sounds like wordplay until you watch it happen in real time. Watch someone defend a political belief they can't explain the origin of. Watch someone pursue a career they never questioned wanting. Watch someone repeat their parents' relationship pattern while swearing they'd never end up like them. The idea has them. It's driving. They think they're steering. The collective unconscious doesn't just shape your big beliefs. It shapes the small ones, the ones so mundane you'd never think to question them. What a successful life looks like. What kind of person is worth admiring? What emotions are acceptable to show? What ambitions are reasonable? These aren't conclusions you reached. They're defaults you were loaded with. And the dangerous part isn't that they're wrong. Some of them might be perfectly fine. The dangerous part is that you never chose them. You're living a life built on answers to questions you never asked. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. The thoughts you're most proud of, the ones you consider your most independent, most original, most you, are often the least original things about you. Your rebellion has a template. Your skepticism follows a script. Even the part of you that says, "I think for myself." Where did that idea come from? Who taught you to value independent thinking? What culture rewarded it? What tribe do you belong to that considers it a virtue? Jung understood something that most people can't accept. There's no clean separation between you and the collective. You can't step fully outside of it because the tools you'd use to step outside, your language, your logic, your sense of what makes sense, were all built inside it. The prison built the bars and then gave you the eyes you use to look for them. This is why Jung said, true individuation, the process of becoming a genuinely individual person, is the hardest psychological task a human being can undertake. Not because it requires intelligence, because it requires you to turn against the current of everything that feels natural, familiar, and true. It requires you to sit in a room with your deepest beliefs and ask, is this mine? And be willing to hear the answer when it's no. Most people will never do this. Not because they're weak or foolish, because the collective unconscious has a built-in defense mechanism. The moment you start separating from the group mind, you feel anxiety, isolation, a deep, primal sense that something is wrong. That feeling isn't a signal that you're making a mistake. It's the herd pulling you back. And it's strong enough that almost everyone obeys it without knowing they obeyed anything at all. So what does an actual independent thought feel like? It doesn't feel like confidence. It doesn't feel like clarity. It feels like vertigo, like the ground you've been standing on your whole life just shifted and you can't tell yet whether you're falling or flying. It feels like loneliness, because the thought doesn't match anyone you know. Nobody in your circle would nod along. Nobody in your feed has posted it. It's just you and an idea that has no social support. That's how you know it's yours. Jung called this the process of confronting the collective unconscious, and he warned that it's not romantic. It's disorienting. You start to see the programming everywhere, in the news, in your friendships, in the goals you've been chasing, in the version of yourself you've been presenting to the world. And the more you see it, the less solid everything feels. The thoughts that used to feel like bedrock start to feel like borrowed furniture in a house you assumed was yours. But here's what Jung believed was on the other side of that disorientation: a self. Not the self your parents imagined for you, not the self your culture assigned you, not the self that gets the most approval or the least resistance. A self that exists beneath all of that, original, irreducible, yours in a way that nothing you've ever thought before has actually been yours. He called it individuation, and he considered it the entire point of being alive. Most people never get there. Not because the door is hidden, because every thought they've ever had, every inherited belief, every absorbed opinion, every unquestioned assumption is standing in front of it, looking exactly like them, saying, "We're already here." The question isn't whether you've been thinking someone else's thoughts. You have. Everyone has. The question is whether you're willing to sit in the silence that comes after you stop and wait for the first thought that's actually yours. That silence might last longer than you expect. And what eventually breaks it might not sound like anything you've heard before. That's how you'll know.